He can speak for a maximum time of 42 minutes. Once done, the table will reconcile the time. Once done. So their request is in order. Honorable Malema.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the NCOP and the Speaker of National Parliament in absentia. I want to take this opportunity to really thank you for how you conducted the proceedings on the day of the State of the Nation address. We have been longing for that type of leadership because the two of you understood that this is a democratic parliament, and therefore any idea that seeks to suggest that the views of the minority should never be entertained is undemocratic. Because democracy by its own nature requires that we listen to all ideas, even if it is ideas of one person. Because those ideas, for as long as they meet a rational test, they are acceptable. So I've seen some fellows here standing up and saying we cannot be held at ransom by minorities. You must know you are planting a wrong seed, that minorities should not be listened to. Because if you agree that minorities should not be listened to, it will go beyond this parliament. And therefore, there will not be a single minority in a true sense of the minorities that will be listened to. I had another one saying here that you want to amend the rules. The problem is not the rules. The problem is reading the rules. Your comrades, Mr. President, do not read. The reality is that they don't read. They read True Love magazine and drum. When it comes to political literature, when it comes to reading the rules, they do not read. That's why someone stood up here and said, House of Rules. It's not House of Rules, it's rules of the house. They do not read. Now, Comrade President, your rise to the high office in our land carried a promise of renewed hope in a better and accountable government with a clear and sound strategy to lead our people in total economic emancipation. 3 Sonas later, there is hardly any evidence that you are different from your predecessor. You are refusing transparency and accountability. You protect incompetence and corruption in your ranks and have already misled Parliament under oath. In your speech, you could not demonstrate any meaningful achievement, and with the direction you are taking by protecting incompetence, refusing accountability, and misleading Parliament, you too will end in the same destination as your predecessor. This we guarantee you. The logical framework of your entire speech rested on a neoliberal developmental path that is rooted in market fundamentalism. The central pillar that holds your plan is misguided hope that markets will transform inequality, unemployment, and poverty that our people face. But for 25 years, this has not worked, and you have given us no evidence that it will work with you. It is therefore impossible to see how solution to poison can be to drinking more poison. To ask us to place our hopes on a white-owned, controlled, and dominated private sector is irresponsible, because you know that the white people do not have our interest at heart. They hope that democratic revolutionary government will play a central role in the economic development, lead a radical restructuring of South Africa's apartheid economy, in which black people were always cheap and easily disposable labor. They hope that to be black is not equal to being unemployed, underemployed, and unemployable, to live in poverty, under spaceless conditions without access to decent water, electricity, sanitation, housing, and health care. The hope that we will not bear witness to world-class wealth, supersonic developments, and innovation, all owned and controlled by white people who despise us and think of us only as their servants. Everything you said is about retreating from this task and placing it in the hands of the very white apartheid created and privileged private monopolies. Nothing is more hopeless than asking white people to transform themselves or asking them to save black people from wretchedness. President, you delivered your first State of the Nation address in February 2018. We said we are willing to give you a chance. In February 2019, we told you that your proposals are dangerous and will make you enemy number one of the EFF, workers and poor masses. We told you that you have abandoned politics and you put profit and greed above all. We also warned you that if you are not willing to be decisive to change property relations and want to continue with your cowardice and wanting to make friends with everyone, you will not address unemployment, poverty and inequality, and few whites will continue to live in opulence in the face of unimaginable poverty. You have, however, continued with dangerous
Honorable
plans,
Malema, just a minute.
and you are even courageous. We heard you what you said, and now we don't believe anything that you said. Instead, you are continuing with incoherent, American-sponsored, neoliberal, misguided and contradictory policies.
Order, Chair.
The only thing you have said,
Order, Chair.
and we know you mean it,
Order,
is
Chair.
everything that will put profit
Honorable Malema,
Order, Chair.
above all.
Honorable Malema, just
Chair.
a minute. What's your
Order.
point of order, member?
Chair, Honorable Malema agreed in responding into a question. Now there is a question. He must respond to the question before he proceeds with his mini State of the Nation address.
We don't believe that you said. Instead, we are continuing with
Order,
incoherent,
Chairperson. Order.
apartheid-sponsored,
Order.
neoliberal,
Order, Chairperson.
misguided and contradictory policies. The
Order,
only thing
order,
you said,
Chairperson.
and we know you to mean it,
None-
is everything that will put profit and greed above all.
Order, Chairperson.
Above the lives
Order,
of
Chairperson.
security
Honorable Malema,
guards,
just a
Order,
minute.
Chairperson.
workers, petrol attendants, unemployed,
Order, Chairperson.
Honorable Malema, just a minute. Just a minute.
follow me, because I'm in
House Chair.
charge. I'm running this thing. So
House
don't
Chair.
worry.
Please proceed your speech, Honorable Malema.
This is my speech. You can run my minutes, it's my speech.
Please proceed.
I'm standing here so I can irritate you. You can be emotional anyhow you want. There is nothing you can do. I'm in charge. So I'm running this house, you see. So you can get angry and stand up and sit down.
House Chair.
It is-
Honorable
it is-
member
it is your
Malema,
own
we are not
house.
running the house. Please proceed with your speech.
It is your own house as a ruling party. If you want to collapse your own house, it's your own house. You can collapse it. So there is nothing I can do to help you. Just continue to learn from me. You are so committed to giving markets more space through restructuring the state to move out of the productive sector of the economy, SOEs. The solution to the problems SOEs face, according to you, is simple. Squeeze them out and allow white capital to provide services they used to provide, like electricity, trains, water, airlines, and others. President, we warned you that no one will privatize ESCOM. However, we see that you did not listen and you do not want to deal with systematic institutional issues facing ESCOM. There are issues that require nothing but basic logic. Firstly, ESCOM should standardize all coal prices and only pay the prices determined by the National Energy Regulator of South Africa. ESCOM should explore all legal possibilities, including constitutional court, to exit all the evergreen contracts, most of which were signed before 1994 and are a huge financial burden to ESCOM. This should, of coal, while the energy regulator said ESCOM should pay roughly around 300 rand per ton. Secondly, ESCOM should fundamentally review all power purchasing agreements with renewable independent power producers only
House
designed
Chair.
to benefit South Africa's racist financial sector.
House Chair.
Companies such as Pembani, responsible
Order,
for
Chair.
day-to-day management of your own company, Shanduka,
Member-
own solar power stations, selling electricity to ESCOM.
What's your point of
Chair.
order? What point of
Implement all of these basic solutions because you are hell-bent on deregulating electricity under misguided ideas that competition will reduce electricity prices and will lead to increase in foreign direct investment. This is misguided because even in capitalist economy, basic logic together with empirical evidence shows that global investment in renewable energy is declining because of falling costs in wind and solar globally, and
Order on
without
you, Chair.
massive state subsidy, many
Chairperson,
activist
order.
projects easily collapse.
Honorable yes, what?
I don't believe that you entirely believe in state-owned banks. The EFF had forced the hand of the ruling party in 2018 to open a state bank, yet the ruling party was reluctant. Your Minister of Finance only woke up the following year to hijack the superior logic of the EFF. We know that you don't believe in state-owned banks, and therefore we are challenging you to ensure that this bank is indeed implemented. We want a bank that is going to help petrol attendants. We want a bank that is going to help domestic workers, the farm workers, without charging them abnormal interest. We want this bank to exist because we know that banks like ABSA, FNB, and Capitec, they racially profile our people and they are racist in deciding who they want to assist. Mr. President, we know that on sovereign wealth fund, you stole the idea of the EFF because the EFF is the one that has always been.
Just a minute, Honorable Malema, just a minute. Honorable member.
My Chair of NCOP, just bear in mind, Chair, that I said I'm going to respond to that question. It's unavoidable. And when I respond to it, many of you will regret because I will reveal certain things now. Let me deal with issues. On Sovereign Wealth Fund, President, we want you to really establish this to help us to ensure that we finance our own economy, but also create the necessary employment in our country through this fund. We know that Norway has done it. We know that Dubai has done it. And we've got the capacity to do it. We just need the political will to deal with this sovereign wealth fund. For the first time, Mr. President, we have a Deputy Minister of Finance who doesn't have dedicated responsibilities. And we think that he is well capacitated to can handle specifically this matter and make sure it is delivered on time. Mr. President, you did not say anything on the Reserve Bank, particularly on its nationalization. Our people want their sovereignty through ownership of their own wealth. And therefore, we want the Reserve Bank to be owned only by the state, not with the private sector, so that the state can give direction on what needs to be happen with this Reserve Bank. On the issue of the land, Mr. President, from the beginning, we never trusted you. We knew very well that you were using this matter to try and win votes. The land question is an emotive issue. It's not an issue that we should play political games with. Therefore, we are calling upon you to be decisive, including with the ruling party. You are sending us back to go and listen to our people who have already told us what needs to happen. We need to expropriate land without compensation. That is the only way we can restore the dignity of our people. We want the ANC to agree with us on this question, that the land must be expropriated without compensation. Section 25 of the Constitution must be amended, because it is only this that will take our people from out of the shacks and make sure that they effectively participate in the economy, in particular on issues of agriculture. Comrade President, you have not created any jobs. Since you became president, the unemployment has increased in South Africa. So instead of being a president that creates jobs, you are a president that creates unemployment. You need to know that since you came in, more young people are unemployed. It is exactly this belief you have, which is misguided, that you are looking for foreign direct investment to create jobs. It will never work. The only way we can create jobs in this country is to have a decisive state intervention in the commanding heights of the economy. We need to own the mines, we need to own the banks, we need to own the industries to ensure that we put money where it matters the most. Comrade President, you spoke about a new smart city. That question is premature. Before you even go to smart cities, fix Alexander. Before you create a smart city, let us go and fix Kailicha. Let's give the people of Giyani water. How can you want to open a smart city in Gauteng? Gauteng, which is overpopulated. The only way we can help our people is to identify a hopeless area which doesn't have any hope for economic activity. Go there, create smart cities there, and make sure that there is economic activities in those type of areas. Gauteng is overpopulated. The only way we can depopulate Gauteng is by creating other cities outside Gauteng, so that we allow other provinces and other towns to grow. So all we are saying, Mr. President, is that you are not, we know very well, there is no smart city you are going to create. But also that it is not your idea, that one of Lanseria. It was there in 2011. So to come and want to create an impression that you came with a super idea of creating a smart city in Lanseria is being disingenuous. Therefore, if you want a legacy of your own, there is Lepalale, there are many other areas where we can create democratic cities and make sure that we grow economy in hopeless areas. Comrades, I heard you, Mr. President, saying you are going to open the university in Ekurhuleni. We agree with that idea. We also support that idea. But before we even open universities, like we did with opening glorified high schools in Mpumalanga and Northern Cape without a clear strategic objective, why can't we extend the infrastructure of the existing universities? Why can't we help the Wits University to buy the whole of Braamfontein and it becomes a Wits city like Oxford, and make sure that we get as many young people to go and learn at Wits? Why can't we say to Wits, go and open a campus in Rustenburg that is relevant to mining, and ensure that we produce young people with skills that are relevant to the economy of their own town? For sure you don't know, Mr. President, that there was a UJ campus, by the way, Honorable Naledi will know, in Ekurhuleni, which was later closed down because there was no electricity, there was no water, the university was not serviced. This campus was opened during the merging of universities under a democratic government. You still failed to run that campus of UJ in Ekurhuleni. So let us not be excited with opening universities and naming them after ourselves, but instead extend the capacity of what is already there. Mr. President, also, there is no clear plan on how you are going to finance these needy students. And as far as is there, there's still a crisis. Every year, children must go to the university to be humiliated, to sing poems about their poverty, to tell how much poor they are, whereas these people are beneficiaries of SASSA. Why can't we have a system that is linked? That a child who comes from a no-fee school, a child that comes from SASSA, a child that is an orphanage, by the time you arrive at the university, they don't ask you to sing your poverty. They automatically know that this one cannot afford. So let us make sure that we link the system. You have appointed the most incapable person to be a minister of higher education. And I can tell you now, he's not going to help you with anything. The man just likes talking. He was the most hostile person during the feast must fall.
Honorable Malema, just a minute.
Those people during the feast must fall. So let's have a clear free education from early childhood development to the first degree. That's how we are going to ensure that our people indeed benefit from this democratic dispensation. Chairperson, the de Klerk matter, President, I don't understand why we continue to give de Klerk the benefits as a former deputy president or even the president. Because those benefits are given to former presidents to go around to spread a positive message, to be nation builders. There is absolutely nothing that de Klerk does in terms of nation building. Many of you are scared to confront this question because de Klerk has got your false numbers. You were spies and you are scared that when you take de Klerk head on, your file of being spies will be released and you will be exposed for who you are, that you are not actually revolutionaries, you are impimpis who are on the payroll of de Klerk and the apartheid regime. Comrade President, we must ensure that we teach the white supremacists a lesson by treating de Klerk in a manner that shows that we have no tolerance for racists. But if we treat de Klerk the same way we treat Nelson Mandela, these white supremacists and their children will never see anything wrong, because the man who presided over the murder of our people is celebrated. So we must make sure that de Klerk is punished, so that anyone who wants to follow the examples of de Klerk doesn't do so, because we'll know that history will catch up with you and history will punish you. Comrade, we must deal decisively with white monopoly capital. We must refuse the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers to own this country and to run the affairs of this country through the president. Mr. President, I saw something very unique in your deputy president, and I thought we must pay a closer attention to him. DD intervened decisively on Jabu Mabuza's misleading of the president.
Order, Chair.
And were able
Order,
to get direction
Order,
from
Chair.
the Honorable Deputy President.
Order, Chair.
So, Honorable Deputy President,
Honorable Malema,
Didi Mabuza, you intervened decisively on the issue of ESCOM and Jabu Mabuza and Honorable Jamnandas. But what made me to pay closer attention to you was when Johan Rupert said he can't have you as a president.
On a point of order, Speaker.
Therefore, I knew that there was something about you.
Honorable
Which
Member,
all of us, I will make an
please
appeal
sit down.
that we pay
Please sit down.
a closer attention to the deputy president. It looks like the deputy president has got something to offer. That's why the Ruperts say they can't have him as a president.
Okay.
So we must make sure.
Honorable Malema, just a minute. Honorable Member, on what point are you rising?
Honorable Chair, no member shall refer to any member by his or her name. He just said, Honorable Jamnandas, can you withdraw? You cannot refer to a member with his or her first name.
We have reading problems here, and it's taking us time. Why don't you read, guys?
Chair.
It's not hard. Just read.
Honorable Godan.
Why now you think you are educated more than everybody?
Thank you very much.
Can I
Honorable
call out
Member,
that Matlozi? What is that, Matlozi?
for